Good afternoon, everybody. Mike Dolly here with Kaylin Reedy from Fenworks. We wanted to give us a little bit of time here in order to give you a 2026 esports season updates and give you, our community, the opportunity to drop in some questions and answers about what's coming up, what's changing for this upcoming year, and how things are going to look different moving forward. So, Mr. Reedy here is going to go ahead and kind of play us through some of the questions that we've gotten from our audience. And again, if you have additional questions, please feel free to go ahead and drop them either in the Twitch chat or YouTube chat, or you can even scan the QR code in the top right if you're watching on a desktop and type in your questions, and we'll try to get to them to the best of our ability. We have tried to organize the questions that have been already submitted up front, so there's a little bit of structure to the Q&A session that we have. So, Mr. Reedy, I will pitch it over to you then.
Why, thank you, Mike, and thank you for the great introduction. Folks, my name's Kaylin Reedy. I am with Fenworks, calling out from the lovely city of Grand Forks, North Dakota today. Thank you for all of the question submissions. We tried to give it a little sort so that we know what's all coming, and with the try and get it to be a little bit ordered. So the first question, which I think is a pretty important one, what is going to be changing in this upcoming season compared to last year, Mike?
So as far as our varsity and JV season goes, really the only big change that's going to be happening is we saw the huge popularity of Mario Kart 8, and we're going to go ahead and move that into the spring. We've had to sunset our friends over at League of Legends due to declining popularity. And so in order to be able to add Marvel Rivals, we had to find a way in order to balance the amount of PCs and time that we need in order to run these games. So if we were going to do Valorant and Marvel Rivals in the same season, the number of PCs that we would need on site at one of our collegiate partners was going to be so great that we'd have to consider renting PCs and having them shipped in, or moving to really a full 2-day format, which can create a lot of additional stresses, especially for our volunteer staff that's coming in, as well as then the setup and teardown times that our university partners can allow us to have as well. So yeah, Marvel Rivals coming to the winter season as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I can say, I mean, the only thing to add on my end is regarding my understanding. I think the most important thing is all of these changes that are brought forward. My understanding is this has always been WISI's philosophy, and I certainly know it's ours. The goal is to always be community driven. If folks want to see something and that is taken through the channels, we want to see it implemented. So Marvel Rivals, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be really fun to see Rivals take off and see everyone participate in that. The next question here, pretty simple one. Will there still be 3 seasons, Mike? Fall, winter, and a spring?
Yes, we follow the same season schedule that our athletics do, so that there's no real overlap from season to season, to reduce the amount of conflicts that we have when it comes to scheduling, and especially for a lot of our smaller schools, to where we have students that maybe 2 or 3 sport athletes and they still want to try to participate on esports. We try not to make them have to make some of those decisions to where it's like, oh, baseball starting up, well, I can no longer go ahead and participate in spring because there's overlap and I have to get to practice. We will be introducing, and I know the question comes up later, we do have a club season as well that we're going to be introducing, and that's going to be on Mondays this year instead of the scrimmages. So it's just something else that we're going to add. Not a lot of teams utilize the scrimmage format to the level that we were hoping. So instead, we're going to try to find a way to get even more students opportunities to play and participate.
100%. So looking here, still on season questions here, Mike. How do we register our school or team for the upcoming season?
So fall registration should be opening in the next 2 weeks. We try to always give at least a month notice as to when registration opens. Mr. Reedy and I, as well as some of the other Fenwork staff, will be trying to work with every single school one-on-one to be able to get you onto our new platform. So you should be seeing an email coming out from me here soon. that's how to get onto the new platform. There's documentation of how to start to be able to create your teams, and I will have seasons on there shortly as well. And just to kind of jump to another question too, regarding the middle school participation, yes. If you have a middle school program, of course you can compete. Middle school students are available to, or I should say, allowed to participate on our JV teams as well. And we have some titles that have enough interest that they can support their own middle school league. So we have Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, and Rocket League will all have their own middle school division where you're only playing other middle school teams.
Wonderful. Folks, if there is, especially if there's anyone fresh watching right now who has not participated in WSIA Esports in the past and wants to consider what that looks like, please reach out. You can find our website here in the description. You can find all sorts of information on how to get in touch with us. Please reach out. We would be happy to talk with you further and figure out what a program would look like for your school. We always want to see more folks coming on to the league, and we're going to have some excellent capacity this year to support some growth. So it's going to be pretty exciting. I think our second to last question that we've got so far on just season updates. Will there be any new titles added this year? Mike, you kind of answered this a little bit already, but I'll let you if you have anything else for that.
So we did add rivals to the winter season, but with club, we will be introducing different season formats. So instead of varsity being 3v3 Rocket League, our club season will be 2v2 Rocket League. So that gives you a little bit more room in order to play, a little bit more area for freestyle. So I'm expecting to see the number of musties and flip resets to go way up this club season. We're also looking at adding within our community tournaments. I'm trying to bring back R6. All of you keep asking, when do we get R6? When do we get R6? I'm going to try to run it as a community tournament again, just to make sure that our rule set's good, that people are showing up. Now that it's cross play, who knows? We'll have even more students that want to participate. And then we're trying to add some more mobile friendly titles into the title rotation. So I know Brawl Stars has been a widely asked for title as well, so we'll look to add Brawl Stars into our community tournaments. And we're just going to try to have more community engagement tournaments, not necessarily esports, just ways for people to be able to socialize and kind of gather together, whether that's just, again, a game of cribbage or some tabletop simulator, just so, everybody can get to kind of know each other on a personal level. So those are some updates coming.
And again, we always take requests. Always happy to hear the games that you want to see. And if you want to vote, vote with participation. The more interest, the more participation, the more obvious it is of a choice to run. So always happy to take your feedback there.
Before we jump to the next one, I'm going to add to that. Students and community members, if you want a voice, we do have a competition committee, a community and connection committee, and a furthering education committee. So students and community members, we have a spot on those committees that if you'd like to have a voice and a say in how some of this moves forward, we want you there. If you're interested, just please reach out to me. And we can get you on the schedule. And we're just looking for people that want to help take ownership of this as we continue to move forward. Not only from the student perspective, collegiate perspective, industry partner perspective, you name a perspective. I think it's very important that everybody has a voice at the table in order to dictate how this moves forward.
Absolutely. And for the part of the season that everyone is always looking forward to, this individual asked, how do playoffs work? Are there going to be changes? Are we going to need to travel? I assume this is from someone who might be more curious just as to how the tournament structure works with WSIA.
So the playoff structure is pretty much set in stone. So we do divisions based upon school enrollment size for varsity. So you always know that you're playing against schools of similar size enrollment. So that way we can keep the competitive equity there as well. And then the top 8 from each conference, typically within a division, will then get seeded into a playoff bracket. So one plays 16, two plays 15, so on and so forth, all the way down. Um, you play your first round, and then if you win your second round, then you get to go and do your semifinals and third place or championship game on site at LAN. This year, our fall state championship is going to be at UW Eau Claire on December 6th. Our winter championship is going to be the 27th and 28th of February at UW Green Bay. And then our spring state championship is going to be May 15th and 16th. I'm waiting on confirmation from Wisconsin Lutheran College to be able to be hosting us for the spring. Um, our club season, as we'll talk here in a little bit, there is no travel for club. The top couple teams from the entire season will advance into a little top four playoff, and we'll get to be able to crown our first club champions this year.
Awesome. And the last question here, bit of a softball for you, Mike, on the season side. Is Corrode going to be added to the map pool for Valorant?
I know a lot of the community does not like Corrode, but the answer is I don't know. Depending on what the competitive map pool looks like as we get closer to the spring season, will dictate what maps are in rotation. I know last year, right before our season started, they went through and they removed two maps and changed the rotation up a little bit. So don't be surprised if Corrode is in there for at least 1 week. Now, personally, I'm really enjoying Corrode. I like it a lot. So, personally, I hope that Corrode stays. And I'm sure that's a controversial take to a lot of the Valorant community.
Incredible. I have not tried Corrode yet personally, so I don't have a stake in that. I'm more of an Ascent guy myself. We do have another question on the season logistics side that I forgot. So looking at this, I remember hearing that the club league will not differentiate a varsity team from a JV team for the schools. I think this individual is looking for, will they have to play against each other? I think looking for clarity on how the varsity, junior varsity, and middle school divide is going to work. And then there's a follow-up question. I'll let you take that one first.
So the club season is going to use a special auto matcher feature that Fenworks has built into their platform that also takes into account a Swiss format. So essentially, yes, all teams will go in, you'll queue in, you'll check in between 3 and 4 p.m., and then you'll automatically be assigned an opponent at 4 o'clock. That's something that you've probably been familiar with if you've competed in our JV system or in our scrimmage finder on Monday. The difference here is that using that Swiss part of the algorithm in their calculations, if you're a 3-0 team, it's going to prioritize you against another 3-0 team. And so that way it's not a 0-5 team playing a 5-0 team. You should be playing teams that are of similar skill-based outcomes at the moment. So you may have to in the early weeks, you may have an opportunity to play against your same school, but ultimately, as you keep winning, if that other team at your school is not as competitive, then the chances of you having to play them is going to be lesser and lesser every week.
Yeah, and I think if individual asked or if anyone else is worried about getting steamrolled in something like a club league, I mean, certainly anything's possible. But generally speaking, the club seasons are great for casual play. They're great for folks or students who want to get involved, maybe for the first time, who are trying to dip their toes in and kind of figure out what esports is like for them and if they're going to enjoy it. It's also great for folks that maybe have a particular game that they really play, that they want to play competitively, and if they want to still participate in the club and engage in some activity through the other points of the season where their game is not being played. Club is a great option for that. And so just by the nature of the beast, you're going to have a lot more just generally more casual matches. That's not to say don't do your best. You still want to take home the victory for the club, but generally speaking, it isn't going to be as consistently competitive at least in my experience as the varsity junior varsity type seasons. So that's something to look at. And then there is a follow-up question from this same individual. Also, do the club teams ever have to play at school like in the normal season, or can the matches, including playoffs, be played at home?
It's a great question, and I understand why students want to play from home, but the reason why we put so much emphasis on playing from school is not only that you're in a supervised environment, but a lot of our students don't have the necessary equipment to play at home. They may not have reliable internet access enough at home to be able to play. And so and then there's the time element too. So like being able to check in from 3 to 4, there are a lot of districts that are still going and playing, or sorry, are in school until 3:30, 3:45, and they may only have 15 minutes to be able to get into their lab. So that's why we really put that emphasis on there. Playing at home, I understand there's the comfort, but it really takes away from being in a team environment and working in close proximity and communication with those that you're also playing with. Um, I will put it to our competition committee that has to meet here before the start of the school year in order to dictate that. But I will give the vote essentially to our competition committee as to do we require the students to play from school, or do we allow the remote play as well? So,
Awesome. Moving on to a sort of more administrative question. So this individual says, I heard that there is a cost to participate in the league. Can you break down what that actually looks like?
so technically, there has always been a cost to participate in the league. It's just been voluntary as to either if you're going to contribute and how much are you going to contribute. The reality of the situation has been that roughly 25% of our invoices of what member schools said that they would be willing to pay went unpaid. And it's really hard in order to budget and ensure that the lights stay on if we don't know how much is going to be coming in. And so we had to look at finding a way to make this sustainable. So there is going to be more costs to participate, but what we are working on is trying to meet with every single school, not just a coach or a general manager, but we're trying to meet with athletic directors, school administration. If I have to present to school boards and superintendents, I will. But we're trying to work with every individual school to help this transition to ensure that everybody can participate. That's why we're offering free club seasons as well as we're transitioning to this. And I understand it was a big, difficult decision, but I didn't necessarily want to see this dissolve. And this was the option that the board voted upon moving in order to create sustainability for the state.
100%. I know in my experience, the number of schools that I've worked with that across the entire Midwest that I know FenWorks operates through, the amount of schools that have dropped esports for any reason that you can conjure up, a lack of interest, a lack of funding, it almost never happens. It is extremely rare. Esports fundamentally is one of the best cost per pupil activities out there for any of the administrative side folks watching. And the sheer benefit of what it gives to students and the bang for your buck compared to a lot of other more expensive activities out there. It is pretty tough to beat esports to that end. Our goal just fundamentally is to make sure that it is sustainable, it's going to last in the state, and it's going to be you know, a locally supported, locally controlled activity driven by education and ultimately for the benefit of students that it serves. So yeah, as we if there's ever any sorts of concerns on that front for you, we are always willing to work with you and make sure we can set up a system that's going to work. We want esports to be a option for any students at any school in the K through 12 side. So I think the next question here, there's actually a couple other areas I want to get at regarding fundraising and some of the ways that those sorts of funds can be generated. But we'll get to that question shortly. It's a really good one. The next question on the list, how does the partnership between Fenworks and Wissia actually work? And who's doing what? How is that actually forming?
So, WISIA is still a nonprofit organization. The board of directors has appointed me as the executive director. So, as I am employed through Fenworks now, essentially running the day-to-day operations of trying to expand this. What Fenworks is providing us is not only a new tournament platform. So we are moving off of League Spot. Again, those invitations have been going out. To coaches. So a new platform. We have game day officiating as well, and I know one of the major, I guess, complaints or hurdles that we've come across is we were using game coordinators, which were coaches at current districts, and if something came up, um, they were having to request a moderator, and 90% of the time, the game coordinator was also having their own competitive team playing, and so they weren't getting to that in a timely manner. So Fenworks is going to have a small team that's always going to be online during our competitive match days, to where if there's technical issues, if there's some sort of match discrepancy or some other potential violation of or cheating comes up, we have then dedicated individuals that will be on during that time period for our games in order to help uh, alleviate those issues. We have a team that's also dedicated to marketing, sponsorship, and developing grant funding. We've been on a number of calls trying to help create a pool available in order to help alleviate some of the costs for our districts, to increase student opportunities as far as like potential scholarships, looking at technology grants as well, in order to help that if districts need new equipment, that we have some sort of process in place. And those will all take time in order to develop, but they are underway. Um, Again, the board has admin control. They essentially set me as I call it, a honey to-do list. And they say, this is the direction that we would like to see the organization going. Here are things that we'd like to see done, and I will do as much as humanly possible. Now that I have the full bandwidth of being able to do this, I can only see how much that this can expand, and that list is my number one priority to get done. Um, we're supporting educational initiatives while working with school districts one on one. For the last 2 years, I've been a career and technical education coordinator, so I'm really, really gung ho about using esports as a medium, not just competition, but a way in order to connect other educational materials, whether that's broadcasting, journalism, event planning, fundraising, you name it. If it's connected to a CTSO like DECA, FBLA, Skills USA, FCCLA, I 100% want to support those types of projects that help students develop those career-based skills using esports, because that's what they're interested in order to advance their career and pad their resume a little bit. Um, and then again, I want to expand our work-based learning experiences. So we've had a great group of interns. We've had, Andrew from Carthage. We've had Triska from MSOE. Harmony coming from Carroll College as well. So we've had a great number of students that have been doing these work-based learning experiences, but I want to increase the opportunity for our students to use some of those career-connected learning experiences that we have to hopefully help make them a little bit more marketable moving forward. Um, and then ultimately, we have the ability to reach out to school districts that aren't competing. We have the time in order to help onboard districts correctly. Not just me sending them a Google Doc and saying, here's the steps we recommend. We now have the ability and bandwidth to be like, let's go through this checklist and talk to your IT department to see what you have, what you don't have, what needs to be set up, if they're comfortable setting that up, what's another alternative, how are you going to recruit, how are you going to retain, are you coaching, like what does that look like, and actually going through so much more detail to help ensure that districts have a sustainable program as well in their building, not just a one-off because a team of students wants to compete one year and then all of a sudden then the program folds because there's no longer those students. So sorry, that was a really long answer, but it's definitely something I'm passionate about moving forward. So
100%. Something that I think a lot of folks that maybe aren't familiar with esports, something that they tend to take a little bit to understand is that esports is actually a fairly complex operation to run behind the scenes. Certainly on the back end, where obviously we have experience running that operational back end, hosting the different matches, scheduling things, making sure folks are showing up on time to an online activity. That takes a lot. It also takes a whole lot as a coach to operate the back end of your program at your school. And I know a lot of folks through the years, since this activity is so new to people, a lot of times they might feel undersupported or they might feel like there's a lot of stuff that's reliant on you to make that activity run successfully. And so when it comes down to it, from the Fenwork side, from my company's end, our goal is to take that operational load off of the folks that have been participating in WISIA, both on the coaches side by providing a whole lot of resources and other materials to make your lives easier, and of course on WISIA's side by taking on that back end operational side, scheduling the matches, making sure everything is staffed and supported, et cetera, and so forth. And as Mike said, that gives a whole lot of time for the educators at the helm of esports in the state to be able to focus on those development initiatives, make sure that the activity is as successful as it possibly can be, make sure that there is continued growth, sustainable growth, and make sure schools are ultimately able to better integrate this program overall. I think everyone is happier when the esports programs are more structured. And so that's kind of the idea behind the partnership. We've aligned really well because I think we both ultimately have the same values and passion for what we're actually doing here. So we've been working really well together so far, and I'm really excited for what the future is going to look like. So the next question I have here, oh yes. So I am starting a new program and fundraising is a challenge. Do you have any tips or suggestions on how to get support?
So there's a few different ways that I can suggest. Number one, as we're helping onboard schools, we will go through the fundraising platform that we have available here through our partnership. Um, I highly recommend looking at CTE opportunities. Again, some of these competitions that you can use, and I will have a very large document coming out here soon to talk about different projects that students can do that would then qualify them to submit something for DECA State or Skills USA or the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association awards in February. And once you connect those to some of those specific CTSO initiatives in your school, there can be different CTE funding available. You could also look at going to your booster club. I know we try to not make it so every school has to fundraise everything, but I think it's really important for our esports students to understand sometimes what goes into generating that money for the club and program. There is often an expectation that this needs to be just paid for. And I think contributing to your school community and contributing to your school culture is an important part of integrating, especially a new program, into that building to show others, hey, this is what esports is. This is how it's going to be making a difference in our students' lives. We're working the concession stands at the Friday night football game, and we get a fraction of the proceeds that we raise from that. And that's, again, students taking ownership of something that they're passionate about, but then also contributing and giving back to the community, which is extremely important of any club or activity or organized sport to do.
100%. And on that note of community involvement and integrating into your wider community as a student, which is always a tremendous opportunity. We work with some great fundraising partners. We have, I mean, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say the majority. I'm not every school, because there's a whole lot of things that go into the planning for these. But we have many schools under our belt acting with our fundraising team. After a year, are generally able to get their program integrated into at least some area of their school budget, and through working with our fundraising team are able to get the funding they need for their school, not just to pay for the fees for participation, but also we always want to make sure that schools are able to get some extra cash in their pockets for things like if they need new equipment, if they need to replace computer parts or something like that, or they want to start refurbishing their lab. We have a great fundraising team. They've been able to support the majority of the schools in our program. We've had, I can't think of a single scenario in which a school has had to drop our program in any of the states we've operated in for a pure lack of funding. But obviously, everything's different. Situations happen. We want to be there as long-term partners to make sure that this activity and other tech activities that you're running are sustainable and able to be a long-term plan, not just a short-term, look to the immediate future. I would also say that as grants come up, this is why it's so important to have, local educators at the helm. As grants come up, as state funding avenues are created, there's always little nooks and crannies where your activity can find some support, or you can find ways to get, tech that can be leveraged for other means. There's a million reasons to have a good set of computers at your school, for example. And as those grants come up and as we identify them, a major priority of ours is making sure we send that information out so you don't miss out on those sorts of things. We try and be at your back because you can't be everywhere at once. You can't see every random grant announcement or every read through every bill that gets passed through your state legislature. So that's a major goal of ours. We always want to see every school funded. And if you're having trouble with that and that's something that concerns you, meet with us. We'll sit down, we'll run through our options, and we'll see what we can do for you. And then another question on this end, sort of on the administrative side. I think this is our last one, unless anyone pops in the chat with more. What is the best way to get new students excited and involved in esports?
Well, we are about to hit the perfect time of year, which is incoming students and freshman orientations are about to get underway here in the next 2 weeks. If your club or team doesn't have a table set up ready to go, and that's not just for advisors and coaches, that's students. You need to be there too in order to help share the interest to those incoming students as well. We always set up like a Smash Brothers or a Mario Kart, and we can have a couple quick races. Getting information out to parents as well about like what days of the week does this meet after school? When is your first meeting? Making sure that there's some sort of sign up to collect student information. And I will say to schools, not 100% of those that sign up will follow through and show up. It's also very important in order to have just some sort of community game night too. Not every student wants to compete, so to be able to have some sort of place available for them to participate and socialize is important as well. And I'll tell you what, my favorite thing that I get excited about for the last 5 years when I was at Elkhorn is we were part of the homecoming activity day. We would have a Smash Brothers tournament and a Mario Kart tournament where all of the freshmen that signed up would compete against each other to figure out who the freshman representative was for Smash. And then the sophomores, juniors, and seniors would all do that as well. And then we would take a giant projector, we would stream it into the gymnasium on the wall, and the kids would stand at the half court line with this projected up on the wall, and then the entire student assembly body would be watching them play and cheering them on, and they were earning points for their grade level in the homecoming activity day. I think that was one of the coolest experiences to get to be a part of. It was very easy to organize, and then even too for our winter formal, our snowball. We didn't do an esport title. We did Just Dance. Same thing. We had 4 representatives, one from each grade level, and they would come out to mid court in a packed gymnasium, and they would do Just Dance on the side of the wall. And I think that's I've never heard the gym so loud for when those students were performing Just Dance in front of the student audience. It was very cool. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about those experiences. But integrating into your school culture is the first step to normalizing it and also helping get students excited. And also going down to the middle school. Don't be afraid to go down to the middle school. I know it sounds scary at first, but our middle schoolers are big gamers. And if we want to also help them keep gaming and know that there is a place that once they go from middle school into high school, there's a place for them to belong as well. They can even come compete after school at the high school with the rest of the JV and varsity teams too. So don't forget about your middle school participants as well.
Oh yeah, I thought I was okay at CS:GO until I played some of our one of our middle school teams here in Grand Forks. No easier way to get humbled than by getting getting taken out by the middle school team. They are remarkably incredible, and as I mean, as students grow up on video games more and more, and that's something that's just a part of their upbringing. As I know, some of us on the older side um, obviously did not have that experience. That's just something that is natural. It's the sort of thing that's built into them. And so enhancing those skill sets and making sure you do integrate your middle school. And on the practical side, integrating those sorts of feeder programs so that those students have something that they're consistently participating in and, doing well in and improving in through their entire, K through 12 experience. That's always awesome to see.
And that's the same pipeline that we see for those students that are transitioning to a 2 year or
Mm-hmm.
4 year collegiate program too. The
Mm-hmm.
first place that they look is to see if they have an esports program once they go out of their high school program, because then they know there's already a place of like minded individuals for them to connect with as soon as they get on campus. And I
Mm-hmm.
think and I'll speak for my program. As I know, a majority of mine, the first thing that they did was join the esports program at their college, 2 or 4 year. And it's that first thing that helps them assimilate into a new environment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Um, there's the consistency of maintaining an activity and getting through in the collegiate side. I've seen plenty of activities in my day that, because they're new or because they're too advanced or because they're just something that, a student might pick up midway through high school, um, sometimes those students have trouble, keeping that as their thing as they move on to their collegiate experience, if that's what they choose. And that can be unfortunate from the esports side because there's some very incredible scholarships out there, and some incredible teams that have been developing in colleges recently, in the last 5 to 10 years, and especially now we're seeing a boom. We helped organize, many of the folks that worked with our company helped organize the collegiate esports ecosystem to start in the state of North Dakota. And that was an incredible experience, just being able to sort of full on create a new activity. But as it becomes more and more ingrained in our schools, there's going to be more and more students who get the training, have the expertise, and are able to secure those scholarships. And they come from all walks of life, um, from the smallest towns to larger cities. You can be an expert in esports. You don't have to be in close proximity to you know anything. You As long as you have a computer and a connection, you can potentially be an Olympic level esports athlete. And that's just a really cool thing for, students who have been doing that for a while. I do have a couple rapid fire questions here that just seemed a little miscellaneous. So I'm just going to shoot them off. Actually, the first one here I think is one that I'll take. Is there coaching available through Fenworks, or is that something that we need to handle in-house? So the answer is you'll need to handle it in-house, and there's also coaching available for Fenworks, and let me explain. So Fenworks does not do, like our company and Wissia by extension, does not do the sort of coaching that puts someone in your school. Esports, just like any other activity, needs an advisor. It needs someone who is at the helm helping support students. Um, make sure everyone is coming to their games on time, giving them a positive activity experience, chaperoning for any sort of travel and sticking around after hours for these games, et cetera, and so forth. So that's something that will need to be taken care of on your school's end. Fenworks does offer separate coaching to get better at the games. We have coaches for our game titles that you can get ahead of time. You can schedule these hours with these coaches. There are additional fees associated with that, and we can run through the whole process for what the actual logistics are if that's something of interest. But what's great about our coaches are that, A, they're really fun. They're all awesome people. But they're also some of the foremost experts at these games. It's incredible with esports, the fact that we can find and have access to genuine experts, very high-ranking players at our fingertips. That's way more difficult to find for in-person activities, but because it's a virtual type of activity, we can pair your teams, we can pair your individuals with these coaches to get better, to learn from any level, whether they're beginners or whether they're experts. They can still learn something from our coaching. That is one of the best ships, continuing to improve with the games. That's something we want to see because we recognize that you're not the esports coach or the general. Even if you are an experienced gamer, you're probably not an expert at all of the game titles. I certainly know I'm not. And so, yeah, we really want to make sure that you're able to have access if you want to and can run it. We want to make sure you have access to experts so that your students can grow with the program, and they're not necessarily just showing up every day and playing the same games and not improving. We want everyone to improve. So, you have anything to add to that, Mike?
No, you did cut out a little bit there, but I will
Hopefully, not
have.
too much.
I think your point got across. We will have also some professional development materials that we can distribute out to advisors, general managers, and coaches at districts that can help give you some of the resources to better learn the games, to be able to try to help facilitate student improvement. So there are multiple options available.
100%. Absolutely. Let's see. Oh, yes. Looking through the list, we have a couple good ones here. So this one is on the jerseys. So this individual asks, do we need to have jerseys or uniforms for our teams? The answer is, you don't need to. You can participate as you'd like, and that is your prerogative. You can wear what you please within your school grounds. We're not going to dictate the rules necessarily. That being said, Fenworks does have a jersey provider that we work with. We can get you set up with jerseys if that's something you would like to get. We always recommend you at least consider it, or at least picking up some sort of uniform-based merch. It's just a great way to have team cohesion. It's a great way to feel included and like you're, involved. It's also a great way to just get your school colors and kind of get that, school patriotism invigorated in your esports students. And considering how fast esports programs tend to grow by and large, it is good to really get that group of students who otherwise might not be involved with other activities wearing your school colors and showing that school pride. So we're always happy to hook you up with those. Obviously, you're also allowed to look for any sort of providers that might already be working with you. Esports is also fun because it's really customizable. You could have a soccer type jersey if you so choose. You could also wear a hoodie. You could put on a Tron looking uniform, hook it up with LEDs for all we care. There's a lot of cool ways that you can play up the tech side, and there's a lot of cool uniforms that you can pick up for esports. So we always recommend it. Let me pull back up my question sheet. Ooh, here's a good one. What is the time commitment for my student? I think this is possibly from a parent. What is the time commitment for my student going to look like? Yeah, that's all she wrote. But I assume, what is sort of the time commitment in your experience, Mike, that a student might be putting into esports?
I think it really depends on program to program. If it's going to be something that's serious, I usually asked my team at the beginning of the year, like, how much do you want to win? And if some of them were really adamant about wanting to win a state championship, then I would tell them, like, one, we're putting in the time. Um,
Hmm.
we would do like we'd schedule a scrimmage against a college on Monday. We would then go into and we would do picks and ban strategy as well as scouting the other team on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we would have our varsity match for one game. And then on Thursday, we would go back and we would do VOD review. And we'd actually go through as a team and talk about, like, what decisions did we make? Were they the best ones? How could we have played this better? And we then try to reflect and analyze on our game. And so for teams like that, I was spending anywhere from 12 to potentially 15 hours a week on just that one team. And then we have other teams to where, like, I had my Fortnite team, and they're like, yeah, no, we just want to play and have fun and see how we do. And so they would show up on Thursdays. They would play their game for an hour and a half to 2 hours. They would come in, practice, and just play together, and then they'd play their match, and then they would go home. So it's kind of a difficult question to answer because every program isn't necessarily formalized, and not everyone is running practices, scheduling scrimmages with colleges, or doing VOD reviews. Some are just showing up on game day, which I would say an hour and a half to 2 hours on one day a week. Our seasons are 1 week preseason, 7 week regular season, and so that means that there's 8 games that student would play during that 8 week period, which is once a week, um, and probably at most 2 hours after school. So
Yeah, I would say that's about accurate. You also, I mean, you get what you put into it at the end of the day, and how you structure your practices and how you organize things at your school. We only provide so many guidelines. We provide all sorts of recommendations. In my experience, and I'm pretty sure I can speak for WISI here because it's pretty same across the board. Um, you can run it as you so choose, so long as you adhere to certain guidelines. How you want to structure your practices, how you want to handle those things are ultimately up to you if you are the person in charge of running your program. But when it comes down to it, for students, for coaches, for literally everyone, I think this applies to everything in life. You get what you put in. If you want to do more practices, if you take the time to, as a student, if you take the time to learn and get better at your game and support your team, as a if you are actively talking with your fellow team members, and as a parent, if you are allowing your student the availability and freedom to pursue this activity that they enjoy, and you encourage them to do so, I think everyone's going to naturally get more out of it. And so, yeah, there's all sorts of opportunities there, and you get what you put in. There is a good question that we just had pop up here. I got to switch back to it. Oh, yes, there we go. So with live streaming, are there going to be here we go. Are there going to be any changes to live streaming? Is Fenworks going to bring more changes to live streaming? I think that from our end of things, we'd love to see schools build live streaming programs. What we always love to help facilitate, since streaming in general and um, all of the things that come into the practice of live streaming, from the commentating to organizing OBS to getting the equipment set up. If you want to learn how to do that, there is a lot of word of mouth involved. Um, it's incredible. It's like one of the few true apprenticeship systems that still exist from medieval guilds. It's like from master to apprentice comes live streaming expertise. We want to change that in theory. We want to see more live streaming knowledge come out into the open. We want to facilitate schools starting their own streaming, not just for esports, but there's all sorts of cool things you can do once you have certain streaming equipment set up for all activities. And if that's something that your school is looking to set up, or you don't already have, or you want to get more of an understanding of that, we have some resources on our end on how to make that easier, and how to get that set up in the first place. We love to share those sorts of things. You're always welcome to live stream your own matches, of course, and do what you will on that front. And I will say that as we continue to build esports culturally throughout the state, and as we build more schools into the program, as more folks get involved, it's only natural that viewership and interest in these games is going to increase, and therefore the streams themselves are going to become more popular and better sources for students who are participating to get their names out there if they so wish. There's all sorts of cool things you can do on the streaming side. Most students who are, involved in the video game sphere have probably watched a Let's Play and probably follow one or more live streamers on Twitch or otherwise. So that's always something we're looking to build. And if that's something you would like to set up or want some more support in doing, happy to do it. Mike, do you have anything on live streaming on your end?
Yeah, it's always been something that's been voluntary for districts to do. We don't make it a requirement in order to stream. It is one of those work-based learning experiences that I think can easily be utilized. We don't have a lot of ways for students to gain work experience in audio-visual production in a lot of our communities. So if we're trying to get students at least some experience in broadcasting, journalism, like even 3D animation. That broadcasting is a simple way that you can enter into that. And also, I'm going to speak for, and I'm going to make an assumption here, but I think almost all of our districts after COVID have turned to live streaming our sports. And
Hmm.
so we have every again, I'm making an assumption here, so let me put my foot in my mouth here, but I'm very confident to say that every school is streaming their after school sports, so they have the broadcast equipment there. It may be something that you could multi-purpose for your school because it's already there.
100%. Yeah, we love to see it. We love to see. I mean, a lot of folks that also do live streaming for schools. I'll also make a. I don't think it's less of an assumption and more purely anecdotal evidence from the things that I've seen. But many times, it can be tough to find someone who their thing is streaming or their thing is live streaming. Often, you might find someone who is already engaging in another activity who has some. Understanding or prior experience in streaming, handling that. And that's fine, obviously. But we also are always happy to, we love to see when folks are taking on commentating and live streaming as their thing and something that they are finding themselves to have a talent at. Um, I was both a theater and a journalism kid in high school for the very little amount of activities that I participated in. Those were my things. And so commentating, radio for speech back in the day, I would have been all over commentating if I were a high schooler these days. So anyway, we love to set those sorts of things up. Um, we didn't have any one ask for it, but we're coming to the top of the hour. If anyone has any further questions, please throw them here in the chat. We did get a question here in the Twitch chat that was answered, but I'll just highlight it for anyone who's just watching for the future. Are we still using LeagueSpot next year? And I can answer that. Mike, you can also take it on. I was going to say we are moving to the Fenworks platform. If you're familiar with LeagueSpot, you shouldn't have any trouble adapting to the Fenworks platform. We have our own developed system for handling the games and doing the other stuff that overall we can add to it and do all sorts of cool things with our own platform that we developed in house. And so we will be using that. There shouldn't be any major hiccups, I imagine, with transitioning to the platform. It's about what you probably would expect from signing up to a website and getting accounts all created, that sort of thing. And we will help all schools that are going to be coming on for the fall, winter, spring to get accounts for that. We are, as we speak, getting folks signed up for it. So if you'd like to get early bird signed up to the platform and get ready for that, please reach out to us. We are happy to get you all set up.
You say I'm working on that tomorrow. I got A through G almost done, and so tomorrow I'm hoping to get H through Z schools invited to the platform. So managers and coaches, you should be getting an email from the platform about joining. So
100%. Turbid Juggler 32 in the Twitch chat says, I appreciate the shout out, Mike. You already know I will be back for Rocket League. Well, we are happy to have you back, back in the car soccer world. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, we're coming to the top of the hour. So I say, Mike, do you have any final thoughts for the audience?
I don't have any final thoughts. I just want to thank everybody that came in during their lunch hour probably in order to tune in and participate in this. And again, I just want to always reiterate, if you want to have a voice at the table, there are multiple ways for you to get involved. Your voice is valued in moving this direction, moving the state forward. And so if you want to contribute, there's always a place. If you want to just be a member of the community and not necessarily participate, um, there's ways to get involved. And that's from a student, a parent, a community member, or even a school administrator in order to get involved within this. And this wouldn't have been possible for the last 10 years if we didn't let people have a voice at the table. So I want to reiterate how important it is for you to have a voice at the table as we move this forward.
100%. When activities are being built, it's important that anyone who has a modicum of passion leverages that and brings that forward, because I think we're all united in our desire to make esports a success and make the student experience as best as it can be. And that certainly, I know for me, comes from a little bit of I wouldn't say self-interest, but wishing that something like that were a thing for me when I was going through high school. That's kind of my motivating factor in making esports as best it can be. And we actually, as much as I'd like to have that be our beautiful send-off, all the questions come in towards the end, Mike, so our Twitch chat is popping. First question we got, when will the Wissia Fenworks page open? And I can take a little bit of that. I know the Wissia information on the website is, I believe, pretty much entirely up to date. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. All of the general logistics for the season and the calendar up until this point has been updated. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct. And
Yep.
I'm getting the invites out to the platform tomorrow. So,
Yep.
like I said, I got A through G invited, and I'm working on H through Z tomorrow. So,
Mike, I just sent you a chat here with the link to also our registration page, just in case, again, if you haven't met with us yet, or you haven't spoken to us, there is a link. If you want to throw that in the Twitch chat, I'm not logged into my Twitch account.
yeah.
But that link, if you look in the chat here, you'll be able to utilize that to sign up to just, take a meeting with us and talk about esports, make sure everything is set up. So that will also kind of help make sure you're connected in the loop. We get thank you for all that you guys are doing to improve the sustainability of Wissia and for continuing to offer students a lot of opportunities. Well, thank you very much. That makes me feel good. Okay, yeah, there we have it. I think that is I saw there were some chats from our account. I thought those might be questions too. I didn't
No.
read ahead. That should be everything for the day, Mike. Again, if anyone has any questions, shoot us a heads up. Let us know. Always happy to answer anything. Hop on a meeting, have an email chain. We're all here to make esports a success. So thanks so much for tuning in.
Have a great day, everybody. See you real soon for the fall season.
See you on the other side. Take care, folks.